guys can feel free to let me know which one you want to use. If we can use Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams now. So
do we still have to like create the room?
Yes. So when you go to create the room now, and you have to make sure that you select does not repeat, because we can't do it right now for recurring rooms. It's only the one-off rooms. And then you just have to create the external URL and then plug that in at the very bottom. There will be a little text box for you to add it. And then when you go to start the room, you'll get that prompt to join.
Cool.
Yeah. So let me we had about 17 people register for the room. And that's why I'm like,
well, they better be prospecting.
I know. I was going to say that would be a good use of my time. I'm clicking the link to join the room and nothing happens. Anna, when you were clicking to join the room, how was that for you? Were you able to just join like normal? Feel free to type in the chat too. There's Julie. Julie, explain to me how the process was for you to get into the room as well. When you clicked on it, was it not allowing you to join? Because it says right now. Oh, I see.
Sorry, I was just transferring out of my AirPods again. Yeah, it wasn't directing me to the room.
Right now, like the Liverpool, the agents that are there, like I just don't have the marketing in the smaller area.
I see. Okay, this is important then to take back to Dev. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start the recording for right now, and then people will join as we continue speaking. Okay. All right. Recording in progress. So it's morning time for you guys still on the West Coast. So I'm going to say good morning, everyone. And thank you all so much for joining us today for our agent panel. Today's session is called Creating Explosive Goals for 2024. And so as we're winding down for the end of 2023, it's been a hell of a year. So just to put it bluntly. And so I know that there's been a lot of fluctuation with the market, and we're starting to kind of see some of those rates come down a little bit going into 2024, which is exciting. And so we really want to make sure that we are kicking things off and starting the new year off on a great foot. And so I have the lovely agents here with me today, Elizabeth, Sarah, and Lauren. And so if you guys just want to take a second to introduce yourselves, just let everyone know who you are, what team you're on, and a little bit about yourself. We'll start out with that. So Elizabeth, if you want to go first.
I'm Elizabeth, the team lead for the Elizabeth Alligood and Associates, and we are located in Fresno, Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego, and we will be expanding into Oregon soon.
Awesome. Sarah, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Sarah Arlington. I'm with Rooster Homes, owner and team lead. We are located in Los Angeles. And a little bit about me, born and raised in California, native. My background's actually in behavioral science, and love real estate.
My name is Lauren Moseley. I am founder of Trajectory Real Estate here in Los Gatos. And a little bit about me is I actually started in commercial real estate in San Francisco for about 10 years, and then went into residential real estate about 4 years ago, and took a team of 11 agents at 250 million in volume to 80 agents doing 1.2 billion with a B. So I'm excited kind of this year to launch my own team, and we're super excited to be here with Radius and with all you talented people.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much. So I know that creating explosive goals for 2024, that's a little bit of a marketing-y phrase here. And so what we plan on discussing throughout today's session is kind of going through intention setting for the new year, goal setting for the new year, and business planning, and just kind of breaking down what each of those things look like in actuality. Because one of the things that I've kind of found in my conversations with a lot of you guys is that it's very easy to come up with a plan, and it's a little bit more difficult to go about executing that plan. And so to kind of start out the conversation with is how do you kind of define intention in the context of your real estate business? And what is one intention that you plan on setting for the new year?
That's a good one. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, feel free. Any one of you.
An intention. Okay. I would probably say to be more present. I feel like this past year in 2023, I had a lot of things going on. So to be more present, to put 100% focus into one thing. And I think that thing isn't necessarily to grow more of my team, but to really dedicate more time to my agents.
I think hearing Elizabeth's response, it was cool to hear the process of her reflecting on what was missing in her business and that being the intention. So when you asked, how do you come up with an intention, or how do you bring about that focus for the new year? I think it's exactly that. One way is to do a gap analysis and identify what are the weaknesses in my current business, or what is something that maybe there's feedback that you've gotten from clients, or just, personal goals that you weren't able to accomplish. And then from that, kind of bringing about an intention. And that's typically my process, is taking reflecting back and identifying the areas where, man, I wish I could improve here or do a little bit better in these areas. I think for our business, for Rooster Homes, it's just my husband and myself. And we've noticed an overwhelming increase in referral-based business on the listing side. And with two people, when you have an abundance of listings, there's only so many open houses you can sit. So our intention is to grow, and we're putting a lot of energy into that right now with our real estate coach. And so yeah, that was the area that we recognized we really need support, and we're putting a lot of energy and good vibes into, how can we grow slowly with intention, right? With the intention on what's important for our business, and how can bringing that person in, help us grow in the ways that we want to.
Yeah, it's interesting talking about kind of what our intentions for coming into the new year and reflecting back on previous year. The market, it's been very, I don't know, you can blame the market for why you didn't get to where you want to go, but there's a million different course corrections that you can take to better the situation. So, and reevaluating that plan and that goal, really looking at, okay, this is what we started this company. This is what our vision was. Is that still the vision? What are the steps we need to take to get there? And are we, what point are we to creating that path or creating those steps? I think that's a hard part. That's a really big part of it. And for any kind of intentions, it's something specific and measurable. It can't just be when we're goal setting with agents. It can't be like, well, I'm gonna do more. I'm gonna work harder next year. It's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean you're gonna host more open houses? How many more? And really kind of putting these goals or these intentions into something that is a plan, and it requires that work or that the physical part of it. I think for us, we have our lead sources where we like them. We've got our, operational or marketing kind of where we like it. So our intent for 2024 is to grow the team. We let go of some, and we'd like to re-add, more talent. And so that's kind of what we're looking at for intentions. And then, similarly, what does that step look like? That means that we need to meet with 2 new agents a week, or whatever that might be.
I was going to add on to that. So it's interesting. I'm in a lot of different groups, and I meet a lot of wonderful agents that are looking to join in NorCal and in San Fran and surrounding areas. So I would love to be able to send them your way and then see if they might be a good fit. And Sarah, if you guys are needing agents who, I call myself like the open house Nazi, because there's certain ways that I do open house. So if you need one of my agents to do an open house for you, just let me know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's what this is about, is being able to collaborate with one another and being able to send each other business or support one another. I think that's great. And I think in the traditional sense, everyone is always thinking about like, oh, what is my New Year's resolution? What am I trying to do better for in the next year? And so for you guys as agents, you get to think about this in terms of like, this is my business. This is what I do career wise. And so there's another added layer of that, and looking at strategically, where have you been in the past few years and where are you looking to grow? And so based on the intentions that you guys have talked about, what is kind of one step in terms of like execution that you guys are looking to make to fulfill that intention and work towards that?
Well, I know for me with growth, because I have more experience recruiting than my business partner. I'm like kind of the things, anything within the office or, operating for the company, it's a little bit more my wheelhouse, and he's like in the field specialist, right? And so for intent for growth, it's like, just get the meeting with the agent. Get the meeting in person, and it's going to happen. It takes almost nothing for people to be ready to make a switch. It could be something as small as like, they're so sick that the copier is always jammed. And like, that's going to be that needle that like tips them to want to actually make a move. And so getting those coffees, getting those meetings, getting those appointments, and really kind of making sure you have those relationships, and you're going to grow. And I think also being a friend in the community is great too. Anybody, even if I don't hire them or they go somewhere else, I tell them all the time, like, I'm a resource for you. This is a really small industry. We're going to cross paths again. If you are interviewing with other teams and you any kind of help or feedback I can give you or anything I know, like, please don't hesitate to reach out. And it's surprising that people will actually do that. So I think that, whether your intention is to grow your business or your intention is to grow your agent headcount, having those meetings, giving things away for free, give that coaching away for free. It just like that karma comes back, and people, that trust you earn basically shows when people come to you naturally and organically. You can grow that way.
I think for me, when it comes to execution, I think we can all relate to the feeling of knowing what to do, knowing how to do it, but just not doing it. And I think that's where a lot of us get stuck in the execution part, because now you have to act, right? You have to actually engage in a set of behaviors that's going to accomplish what the intention sets out to do. For growth with us, we definitely had to fail forward. We tried to grow our team earlier this year and met with our lenders who had an amazing 10-step interview process, hire slow, fire fast. And it didn't work out. We brought someone on and they were on our team for 4 days and it just wasn't a good match. But we followed that, we literally went through this 10-step. It took a week and a half long interview process. And so I think with execution this time around, we are asking for help. And I'm the first one to admit when I don't know something or need support. So many people are willing to provide support and provide resources. And we have an amazing coach who is taking the time to really establish who do we want? What is our value proposition? What do we want in return for that value proposition? What are ways to set up pre-interview tasks to test this person's ability to respond on time and do certain things where we can articulate whether or not they're a good fit for us. So I think with the execution piece, we've recognized our weaknesses, we're asking for help and doing it different, right? Because the last thing you want to do with an execution is the same thing and expect a different result. So that's where we're at with our execution.
Yeah. Any ADD people out there? I was going to say suffering from executive dysfunction where you know the task, you can do the task, but for some reason you're just not doing the task. Like right here.
Yeah. Hey, I'm right there with you guys. I may not be an agent necessarily, but I am right there with you. And so, I definitely think all of us are a little bit guilty of also that sense of just analysis paralysis, where you've got so many options in front of you and you're just not really sure which one is the best one to start out with. Because, for me personally, just feeling afraid of making the wrong decision to begin with is the first part of that.
That's actually a really interesting point you bring up, is, being afraid to make a decision or hiding from a decision. That's another thing too, that can be crippling for a team, crippling for culture. And when I talked a little bit about those course corrections, it's just continue to do them, continue to reassess, reevaluate, and really lean in to when something's not going right, or you have a gut feeling, or Sarah, for you, you're interviewing, you're well, they passed the 10 steps, but if that's gut feeling where you're just I don't think they're going to be a right fit, to act on it, because the worst thing to do is to make no decision. You can make a wrong decision and then you'll make a series of decisions after that to correct it. But to do nothing or ignore it is going to be detrimental to your business, your team, your life. You sit there and wake up in the morning do I still like what I'm building? Is this still a company I want to be a part of? Or do we need to burn it down and start over, So that's one of these things that we think about as far as just there's no right or wrong. Just do something and see how that works out, and then make the series of next decisions, because I think it's a weak leader who can't just make a decision and go with it. And so that's a little bit my philosophy and things that I've learned looking back on. And with our intent moving forward, it's going to be, a little bit of a reassessing of roles and just more action. Just we need to move quickly. We need to do this. The minute that we've got, an agent on the team that's not contributing, collaborating, whatever, we have to cut them loose, because it doesn't help anybody to have that, right?
Yeah, I actually went through that same situation this year. I hired an agent and she was really nice and everything. And she said, no, I'm willing to door knock, I'm willing to cold call, I'm willing to do events. But then when she actually got on, she didn't do any of those things. And then she actually we had a situation where, the there was a seller that she was having to go to a retirement home. She had Alzheimer's. And so the daughter flew in to help her pack. And I said, are you okay with talking to them? And she said, yeah, I absolutely got it. She kept hounding the daughter every single day to get them to sign a listing. And so I got an email. I said, I'm so sorry. I cut her really quick, because to me, it's like, that's something that you should never do. But I invested so much time and energy into this one agent because I'll admit it. I'm the person that's like, I'm kind of like a mom. I have no kids, but I'm like a mom. I see the potential and I know it's there. But this one, I was like, I have to fire quick. Mm-hmm. So I think we've all been there.
100%. And that is shocking. I think one of the things too is that making sure that you just have tact as an agent and you can approach certain conversations with, sensitivity and understanding is super important. But
I also think there was some, like, I wouldn't say red flags, but yellow flags throughout the process. And, my gut told me one thing, but I kept thinking, well, maybe there's potential. And for me, I keep going back on the fact that every agent that I bring on has to get along with all the other agents, because it's not just me hiring, it's my team. And we're a very close-knit family. So if you have one bad apple, it kind of seeps into everything that you do.
100%. I know Curlin, actually, she's been super engaged in rooms as of late. And so just in getting to speak with her a little bit, this is one of her first years as a real estate agent. And so one of the things that I wanted to kind of talk through with you guys as some more seasoned agents is, life happens. A lot of the goals and expectations and intentions that we set throughout the year may not happen or come into fruition the way that we may have intended. But how do each of you approach goal adjustments or pivots if unforeseen circumstances impact the real estate market or your own business environment? And if you have a specific example or story of a time where you had to do that, an anecdote would also be great too.
I think with goal setting, like
that too, that's a loaded question. I know.
No. But I mean, with goal setting, if the goal is too easy, then it's not really motivating you. And if it's too big and it seems like it's out of grasp, it's not motivating you either. And so taking a look each quarter, saying, all right, are we on track or off track? Do we want to revise or recommit? Right. And I think that goal setting should be bold, but achievable. And the way when I'm coaching not just my coaching clients, but my agents on my team, it's like, all right, what do we want to do this year? Oh, I want to make a lot of money. How much money? I want to make 200,000. Okay, great. Let's look at your average price points, and you're working backwards as to, all right, to make this, we're going to have to sell 8 houses. Where are we going to find those 8 clients? And to really kind of break it down so it's manageable. Again, going with that executive dysfunction thing, if it's just like this arbitrary giant goal, like, oh, we've got to hire 20 agents. It's too big to chew. You can't eat an elephant, in one sitting. It's one bite at a time. And so when you break that out of like, okay, could we have 2 appointments with prospective agents a week? That's doable. What do we need to do to get those 2 appointments? Do we need to hire a smart setter? Do we need to spend X amount of time on the phone? Do I want to have let my inside sales associate earn some commissions by calling and setting meetings with agents for me? Like, there's all these different ways of breaking it down into an actionable item that you do on either a daily, weekly, or monthly basis in order to hit that goal, and maybe at a time. So I know for us, we kind of bought into a lot of online leads and the greatest systems and all this stuff. And we found that they weren't performing. So while we were like, we're going to hire, 15 brand new agents, and it's great because we're going to put them to work on these pay-per-clicks. But that was a course correction, because I'm like, okay, well, we've got some baby birds, just like, in the nest squawking with their mouths open, and we don't have anything to feed them because these lead sources did not live up to what our expectations were of them. So where do we need to go next? What we need to go next is to find someone who has a book of business already. And even though it's a lower ROI per agent, it's better to have that consistent smaller checks coming in, and just really looking at and that's taking an honest look at it. It's taking an honest look of you can't manage what you're not measuring. You can't measure what you're not tracking. Like we have gotten 500 leads. How many of those have converted? How many phone calls, how many people do we get on the phone? How many appointments did we get? Where did these come from? How many of them were from out of the area? And if you're not doing those diagnostics, then you're not only wasting money, you're going to overspend and waste money on things that don't pan out, but also you'll have, like for us, we would have ended up with 10 new hungry agents that are an investment in time and resources, but are not necessarily coming with a book of business. And so that would have been pretty catastrophic for that to happen. So it's just making those decisions, measuring it, looking at it, don't hide from it,
I 100% agree with Lauren, and this is something that I preach to my agents all the time. You guys have to monitor where your leads are coming from, how many people you're talking to, where did you meet them, and maybe it goes in one ear and out the other. But I don't know if you've ever done ninja selling or if you've heard of it. So that's what they coach, and there's a book that it's easy read, but you can also get the planner for the year, and it tells you who did you meet today, and you have to create a schedule and say, okay, from 8 to 10 I'm going to prospect, write down who you talked to, follow up. And it really helped me in the best year of real estate, because I was able to say, okay, this is my conversion rate, this is how many sellers, how many buyers, this is primarily where I get it from, so the following year this is where I need to focus if I really want to maximize my sales. And I think majority of agents are not doing that. They're not doing the follow-up. They're not sticking to their schedule of, okay, I need to prospect. I need to talk to as many people as I can to build that rapport. The whole Ford, you've heard of Ford, right? Okay. So forward and record, making sure that you're following that and having meaningful conversations with people. It just boggles my mind that people are not tracking.
It's the accountability part, and accountability is what's scary. Nobody gets into real estate because they want to be accountable, or that they get into it because of the freedom. Oh, I work for myself. I'm selling sunset. Like, look at me. And the thing about it is there's all this freedom and there is all this success you could have. And that tether is the accountability. So Elizabeth, when you're sitting there, you're probably looking at your agent's CRM and they're like, oh, I've been busy. I'm working so hard. It's like, really? Your last ad to the CRM was 6 weeks ago. So what I'm seeing from there is either A, you're not using the tools provided, or B, you haven't met any new people in 6 weeks. Which is it? And, it's like, that's the most basic thing,
You can meet people. I mean, my one little goal every single day is to meet 10 new people. And you could do that if you can't leave because you're sick. You can meet them on LinkedIn. My recent listing came from a seller in San Fran who purchased a property here through family and is going to renovate it and flip it. Never met him in my life. There's just so much potential, but people will not take the time to actually prospect. And then the excuses of, well, I didn't have time, or I'll get to it tomorrow. It's like, okay, if you know that you have X, Y, and Z this week, like a doctor's appointment, you're going on a trip, change, pivot your schedule, and then make sure you're putting prospecting in.
Yeah, exactly. So we're busy and then we're working, right? And so when the appointments, the new additions to the database, that's work. Farting around on the internet is not working. That's being busy. And so a true measure of whether or not you're actually doing anything, did you have appointments? Did you have an appointment with somebody that you didn't already know to talk about real estate? If you didn't do that, you're busy. You're not working. You're like I said, you're just like, you're doing emails. It's like, that's not meeting new people. And people are not going to buy or sell real estate simply off of TikTok. Like at some point, there's got to be a conversation. At some point, it's either, over the phone or belly to belly. Like I had an agent on my team who had a goal of, I'm going to do 100 TikToks in 100 days. And I'm like, let's see how that turns out for you. And did she get one piece of business for that? No.
It's very rare that you're going to get business from doing a TikTok. I mean, I know one agent and she does get business from here or there, but it took her years to build that following and to be consistent about it. It doesn't happen overnight. But, for me, social media, my bread and butter for social media is LinkedIn because I started years ago and I've got about, I think, close to 20,000 connections, but I'm actively reaching out to people, following up, and then asking them like, hey, it's been a while since we talked. Are you still in lending? Starting that conversation. But most of the time it's going out there. Like I'm part of so many different groups and associations, and I'm asking for the business. I'm not just sitting there and being quiet, but it's that consistency.
Yeah. Another thing for that is your goal of meeting 10 people a day. Love that. And you can do it on a multitude of different ways. The other thing too is hosting open houses. For my agents, I like an open house is where you actually have feet on the street people coming to you. This is one of the most powerful things you can do in your business. You could be a blind monkey. And if you host enough open houses, you're going to sell some houses. So that was another thing too, is like, get out there and host open houses. I'm super proud of one of my agents. She has been hosting open houses and she's like, yeah, I've got, 3 people who want to write an offer on this house. And it's like, that's great. And what did that, do you calculate out the money that you're going to make off of one of those deals landing, plus you're going to take those two deals that didn't land and you're going to take them, show them more houses. And then you think of those 4 hours you sat there and it's like, you just made it, whatever it is, like $12,000 an hour or you calculate that out. It's worth it. And so I think with intention too, what I saw is having agents like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. And, at the base bottom of the day, did they host any open houses? No. Did they send out their sphere mailers? No. It's like, you're not taking the activity. You're just expecting something to just manifest out of nothing. And, that's great. You could be that agent that sells 1 or 2 houses a year. If you want this to be a full-time gig, you have to treat it like a full-time job. And that means having that discipline.
Yeah. Even if you don't have an open house or somebody else has an open house, go door knock the area and be like, hey, by the way, just want to let you guys know that there's an open house down the street from 1 to 4. By the way, what's your name? Like just having that there's being busy and then being mindful about what you're doing. And the other part is I always fall back on following up. If you're talking to people, like I bring my phone. So as soon as I leave, I bookmark the property, I put in notes, and then I follow back with I'll bring them something to their door or like a flyer, anything, just to keep me at the top of their mind. And that's the whole point of it. It's like, I know some agents that I coach and they're like, well, I just want to do open houses. I'm like, okay, but what are you going to say during the open house? How are you going to get business? Like, what if the market just dies? Like, are you just going to sit around and do nothing? No, you're going to go out there. You're going to network your butt off, talk to sellers, go to businesses, go to events, like build your book of business. And I can't be the one that's doing it for you. You have to do it yourself. And if you're not willing to do it yourself, then what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sarah, go ahead. I know you had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I'm glad you're back.
My cat hit something on my touch screen and everything went I couldn't hear anybody. So I'm on my phone now, but I had to restart my computer. But I wasn't sure if we were still on the last question about a new agent at Radius who's about a year in the business and what happens when the market changes or things come up. And if we had a personal anecdote or story to share.
Adaptability. Yes.
Yeah. So one of the best resources that I subscribe to is Keeping Current Matters. And if you're not on this resource, I highly encourage you to get a subscription. So at the end of 2022, heading into this year, right around November, we saw interest rates start to peak up at 7.08%. And a lot of buyers in 2022 were coming to me and saying, oh, the market's going to crash. And for a new agent to be able to navigate high level conversations like that, it's very challenging when you're not a market expert and when you're not informed. And so having resources where you get monthly market reports, which Keeping Current Matters provides, where you understand seasonality, where you understand how do rates impact the market, how does inventory, being able to calculate an absorption rate and educate buyers on, hey, this is the absorption rate in your market. We're still seeing very low inventory. There's no data that would suggest, there's no leading indicators that would suggest we're headed towards a market crash. So the ability to utilize data and information is powerful and allows you to pivot when these things happen in the market. So as a new agent, my advice would be get on to certain subscriptions, whether it's Inman, Keeping Current Matters, where you start to educate yourself on these conversational pieces where now you're a market expert. Now you're a trusted advisor. You're not a salesman. You're not there to push people into homes. You're taking the questions that buyers are coming to you with, or their concerns or their freak outs, and you're saying, hey, that's a great question. Let's look at this objectively, right? And you're not giving your opinion based on your commission breadth or your desperation to push this person in a certain direction that benefits you. You're leveraging the knowledge and objective data to be a trusted advisor. And so that's what I wanted to share in relationship to that last question is, as a new agent, what are the tools and resources that I could have? So when buyers come to me, or start taking notes on what are the top questions that my buyers or sellers are asking, or that I'm hearing as I meet with new clients. And if I don't know the answers, how can I get those answers and follow up with them so that now I'm providing value and I'm a value add and I'm maintaining those relationships with my clients.
I feel like you ladies are just speaking my mind. I always tell my agents, I'm like, stop complaining that the market is slow. You've got to be constantly learning, and people are not going to listen to you if you're like, no, you're wrong. You need to provide value. You need to provide data, because the numbers don't lie. What are they going to say? No, you're wrong. It's like, this is coming from the actual real estate market. So I 2000% agree. Like, you constantly need to be learning and growing. Talk to escrow, talk to title, talk to your lenders, go to the rooms, those are the two things: prospecting, following up, and learning.
Yeah, learning is key. And one of my defaults, which I got from Keeping Current Matters, is, listen, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the future, but what I can do is use data to evaluate and assess, what are the potential most likely things that are going to happen, and how can we use that data to make an educated and informed decision around the market. And I was able to pivot when interest rates went up and when people were like, oh, the market's going to crash, and just being able to go to my clients and create little videos or little market updates and send it to them. So many buyers came back to me and they're like, oh, wow, like that's so insightful. That makes sense. Let's continue our search.
That's awesome, you guys. I know we have a couple minutes left, and so I want to make sure that I ask you one kind of final question just to wrap up everything that we've kind of talked about here today. And that is, I know we've talked about like what happens when things go wrong and what happens when you do this, this, and this. I want to talk about measuring successes and what kind of metrics you guys use to measure the success for your goals, and how do you celebrate your milestones and achievements throughout the year to stay motivated and kind of keep that momentum going?
Well, I mean, ultimate measure is money.
Well, yes. I mean, that is the obvious one. Yes.
I think for me, because there's like so many different goals that I have, and especially with my agents, that even small goals like, hey, by the way, I set an appointment. That's a huge win. I mean, and every win should be celebrated. One of the things that I like to do, which is kind of not traditional, is I have 2 dogs. I have no kids. So I look at them like, don't worry, I'm going to make sure you have a good life. And every time I do a sale, I will go ahead and get them new toys. So it's just kind of like a little thing that I do, but you gotta like be proud of every single win that you have. And even if they're not wins, like I just, for me, it's like, even if you lost a buyer or a seller, like take that and think about what the situation, like what you could have done differently, but also appreciate and learn from it.
I love what you said about reflecting back on a postmortem. What could you have done differently? So your losses could be a win when you've learned from them, right?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
That deal. What could you have done differently? And then it's going to make you stronger moving forward. Now, to blame the market or to blame, the client's crazy, it's just like, okay, well, crazy people are out there. Market is that the market does. What are we going to do? Because we can only control the way we handle it. So even if the market's crazy and the client was nuts and this happened and that happened, what is some action that I can control that I could have done for a different outcome?
Awesome. I think understanding the difference between lead measures and lag measures is critical. There's an abundance of lead measures that go into success in real estate. The lag measure is the output, right? The sale, which is at the very end of a slew of behaviors that have to take place. And so I agree with Lauren Elizabeth, like celebrating those small wins is so critical because there's so much that goes in on the front end until that transaction actually happens, which is the ultimate big win. And so I love setting goals around appointments set, appointments met, circle dialing if you're making a certain number of calls, because those are all the inputs that are going to lead to that ultimate output, which is a sale. I think for us, I think all of our money goes to food. Like we started just using credit cards for everything so we can monitor our spending. And Brandon, my husband and business partner, was like, oh my God, we're just eating out all the time. Like we're such foodies and we love food. And so that's kind of become our reward is, all right, we're going to start shopping at home because we need to dial back the spending. But when we feel like we've had a successful week or we had an awesome appointment that led to, we were able to set another appointment, and those little conversions that matter, that make a difference. We're like, hey, let's go to like Toca Madera or let's go to Desano's and get a pizza, because food is so rewarding and we can enjoy and talk about our celebrations together. But yeah, that would be my feedback.
I was going to ask you, ladies, since you're also team leads, do you guys ever do competitions?
Oh,
agents. So beginning of 2024, I'm going to give this, one of my agents, Danielle, is on here, but I'm going to give this to my team. If they can hit $10 million, and I'm going to give them probably till Q4, then I will give them $10,000 that they can use for a trip if they want to bring another person, or for marketing expense.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I'm a big believer. I mean, just being a behavior analyst, incentives go a long way if they're done right. And I don't have any agents to do any type of competitions or incentive programs, but they're all in my head, ready to be built out and implemented when we grow our team.
Yeah, it's crazy because in my experience in real estate, I've worked with agents for a long time, worked with hundreds over the years, and they'll work harder for that, $2,000 trip to Cabo than to just sell the house. It's like you're making so much more money on the sales, but that trip to Cabo and getting the name on the board and being, the winner to that, that's like real motivating for hustle. I think that healthy competition is good and fun. And it's nice when you do a short competition, because then really anybody could win. And it's great to see the rookie have like a great month and then they end up winning, right? Otherwise, when you have a big enough, bragging rights, exactly. When you have a big enough team, it's not as fun to see like top 5 agents are the same month after month, contest after contest. So keep them short and, make it fun, but absolutely.
Gamification of literally anything is just, we've come up with ways to just entertain ourselves, and this is just competition and games and incentives are just another layer to that. And so that was great, ladies. Thank you so much for all of your fantastic input. I love speaking with all of you guys individually, and so now to have you all here together is just makes my day a lot better. So I really appreciate your guys' time, your advice and your input. And I just want to thank everyone who showed up today. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, and you know what? That happens. Part of life. It's how we adapt and are flexible. And so again, I just want to thank everyone for joining us for today's mastermind. And so I hope you ladies have a fantastic rest of your 2023 and are able to kickstart 2024 with a bang. And so you'll definitely all be hearing from me before the end of the year, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to show my personal gratitude. So
yeah,
it is great.
A lot of fun
here.
Thank you guys so much. So I hope everyone has a great rest of their Thursday, and we will see you guys in rooms next time. So have a good one, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.